What is it like when you first show up?
No encouragement, no discouragement at all. You could walk in with a broken leg and they go color and number. And you got to be standing by ready to go when the trucks come in.
What was your strategy?
On the 40 miler,
Yeah.
keep moving. Hardest thing I ever did in my life, bar none. I just gushed. Sergeant Vickers, congratulations. You successfully completed the stress phase of Delta Force selection and assessment.
What is it like when you first show up?
First show up, you get in, you bring in, they give you more testing. You get more evals. They're kind of honing it down. If initially it was a big broad brush type of, a coarse screen, now they're getting you in the smaller. They're going to dial things in where they can get a better handle on what you are like as a person, what you think they're going to be like as a Delta Force soldier, Delta Force operator, and they're going to dial you in. Then you do a PT test again. You do another PT test. Day one, once the things get going, do a PT test, standard Army PT test, push up, sit up, 2-mile run. Then you do a swim test, 100 meters, fatigues and boots, which you can't bluff your way through that. You better know how to swim or you're not going to make it. And I knew that. So I trained up over and over and over. And it got to the point where I timed myself. I swam an hour in fatigues and boots because I learned how to do it, not fight the fatigues and boots, just go with the flow. You know what I'm talking about. And so did the swim test, and then that night, 18-mile rucksack march. So one day, day one, PT test, swim test, 18-mile rucksack march.
Holy shit.
And if you don't make the cut on any of them, you're gone. I take that back. They will give you a retest on the PT test. Memory serves me correct, no retest on the swim test and no retest on the 18-miler. But they will the very next day, they'll give you a retest on the PT test. And you can imagine, I knew one guy that passed that, was able to pass it the next day that didn't pass it the day prior, which you kind of go, how is that? But he did. He passed it the second day, but he didn't pass it the day prior. The average guy, it's going to be impossible after you've done it the first day, failed, done the swim test, passed, and did the 18-miler and passed.
Yeah.
You try to make up the PT test the next day, it ain't going to happen.
Is the 18-miler, is that a land navigation thing too?
No, just the rucksack march on roads.
Okay.
Through hilly terrain. Very hilly terrain.
How are you treated?
Totally, no encouragement, no discouragement at all through the whole course. And they did that on purpose to try to get you. Then once again, they put it all back on you. They don't want it like, hey man, good job. You know what I mean? Or, hey dude, you got to pick up the pace. None of that kind of stuff. It was, you could walk in. I used to tell people, you could walk in with a broken leg and they go color and number. And you'd have to have a color, and they'd give you at the beginning of the day, they'd give you a color and number, so you'd have to remember, Chartreuse 43. Chartreuse 43, show me where you're at and where you came from. Because it's all land nav based through serious hilly terrain. Like a buddy of mine said, there aren't mountains there, but there's some damn big hills. And that's the truth. Camp Dawson is surrounded by damn big hills.
So each point is timed.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's not the full course.
No, each
I mean, the
point's
full
timed.
course is essentially
Yeah.
timed, but you don't really know where exactly you're going.
No. You might have 4 points one day. You might have 6 points the next day.
How long does this last?
6 days. And then on the 7th day, you do the 40-miler. This is stress phase. Okay. We talked about the PT test, swim test, 18-miler. Now, after that, you get into basically, for lack of a better term, the training phase. They're going to teach you how to do land navigation. And the reason they did that used to be back in the day, you just went right into stress phase. But they found out this isn't fair because there's guys who would probably make it that don't know how to do, they've never had land navigation training. So they would put you through 10 days to 2 weeks-ish, more or less 10 days of the best land navigation training in the U.S. Army. It has to be the best land navigation in the U.S. military, or probably in the world. I mean, magnificent land navigation training. You had cadre cadre led, land navigation. It was just magnificent. Really, really good. Map reading, dead reckoning, you go around the hills, mountains, all that it was just really, really good training. It was superb. But it was also kind of grinding you down. So everybody kind of got to a certain level. You have a stud or whatever. He's not going to be 100% going into stress because you're going through the same hills, rocky terrain, twisting your ankle, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of taking even the studs and grinding them down a bit. So when they get ready to do stress phase, they're not on their A game. If they're lucky, they're on their B- game.
Gotcha.
And then you start stress.
What's stress?
Stress phase is that 6 days, with the 7th day being a 40 miler. And you stay out in the woods in a tent in the environment. You're eating MREs. You get, at the end of the day, you'll get in these trucks or Humvees. At the time I did it, it was trucks. And you don't know where you're going. The guys who don't make it that day go back to Camp Dawson. The guys that make it for that day, pass, they go to the base camp. And they put up their tent, and you eat your MREs, and then you crash out, and they tell you what time you got to be up. It's on you. They're not going to wake you up in the morning. You got to be, you got to get yourself up. You got to put away all your gear, and you got to be standing by, ready to go when the trucks come in to pick you up and take you. Then they take you back out to another point, and they, Chartreuse 43, or they're going to give you a different color and number that day. Vickers, purple 1-2, truck number 3. And I jump on, and I have to remember purple, 1-2. That's my color and number for that day. And then you go out, they bring you out purple 1-2. Your point's over there. You go over the same thing. You take it out. Hey, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm going on the map. Show me what you got. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm going. Have a good one. That's the only encouragement you're going to have. A good one. That's it.
And the 40
through
miler.
the process. The 40 miler. Now, before I get to that, there were people that didn't finish one day that still made the course. And you're like, how can that be? My call is, and by the way, the standards are the holy grail of the unit. There's only a handful of people that have ever known the standards. I mean, that is the deepest, darkest secrets in that organization. I was in the unit for 15 years and I had no idea what the standards were. I could guess, but I had no idea. Only when you got to a certain point, like the commander or the command sergeant major, or you were the selection commander or selection sergeant major, would you be read in on the tea leaves.
So there's only really 2 people that make the determination if you fit the standard.
Yes. Really, yes.
Even the cadre that are there don't know the standard.
They have no idea. The
No
cadre,
shit.
I have no idea. None.
For the selection, for the guys going through selection, if nobody knows the time, then time is obviously important, but they may identify something in a, what would you call them, a trainee?
What do you mean?
The guys going through selection.
Yeah, candidate.
A candidate. So they may identify a candidate that doesn't meet the time standard, but they like everything else about
Oh
them.
yeah, no, wouldn't matter. If you don't meet the time standard, you could be a rock star, and it wouldn't matter. We had some rock
How would nobody? This general. It's a genuine question. I'm not like poking holes in it. I'm just trying to understand. I mean, how would more people not figure out what the time is if you could just go through the times and go, that guy made it, that guy made it, that guy.
Yeah, but you
obviously
can't-
it's under.
But the
X
thing
time.
is, all you had was the only information you had as a cadre was your little small vision of the world. You didn't see the whole. You didn't see him at this point, this guy at this point,
Okay.
this guy.
So they compartmentalize.
Yeah, it's compartmentalized. You always only saw your piece of the puzzle. You didn't see what he was doing. You didn't see what he was reporting in. The only guy that got all that was the S&T sergeant major, who's out there running it. Yep, and running the numbers.
What
I
was
mean, it
your
would be
open?
something to the point that you would go walk. If you had to go up to his truck or something, he'd be like, "Stop," and he would put everything away. So you couldn't come up and look over his shoulders. Yeah, what do you need? I mean, it was top secret, bro. Top secret.
Do you remember your time?
40 miler, yeah, 16. Now, according to the book, according to Charlie Beckwith's book, Delta Force, you had 20 hours to do the 40 miler. Had to do 2 hours, 2 miles an hour in very hilly terrain. Very hilly terrain. Some of it on roads, some of it on trails, some of it across country. And you had to do it in 20 hours. I believe that's accurate. I think that's legit. I did it 16 hours, 20 minutes, a 40 miler.
Damn. That's moving.
Yeah. Now, dude, I know some guys who did it in unbelievable times. Unbelievable.
What was your strategy?
On the 40 miler,
Yeah.
keep moving, take the simplest path. Because I knew people that had tried to take shortcuts and it bit them in the ass. They got nailed in Mountain Laurel, and they completely lost track of where they're at. They had no idea where they're at. They were trapped, and that was it. And they were done. They couldn't get out of it. So I would just take, like, there's one big hill, gigantic monster hill after you do a river crossing. It's about, I want to say it's about 25, about 25 miles in. And you got your next point is at the top of the hill. I kept it simple. I basically I did the switchback road all the way up. Well, a lot of other guys just did this number, and most of them did not make it because they would get caught in Mountain Laurel. Well, number one, it would smoke you to death.
Yeah.
It would be so incredibly difficult to do that 25 miles into a 40-mile rucksack march. And you're going dead reckoning at the top of this hill. I mean, I know people that did it, but as a general rule, it was a kiss of death. But I did switchback all the way up till I could see that top road. I cut over to it and came into the point. But I just kept it simple, stayed focused. I didn't try to do anything fancy, kept moving. I stopped one time to have a little bit of an MRE, and that was it. I kept moving the whole time. I wasn't worried about running it. I was just trying to stay positive and stay moving the whole time.
When do you find out that you passed?
The 40 miler, when you get to the last point, they call up and they, Purple 12s here, Vickers, and they'll run the numbers. And they'll go, okay, send him on up. And you basically, and they go, okay, Vicker or Purple 1, 2, your next point is at the top of that. Basically, it was a power line clearing. And at the very top, maybe a kilometer, not very far at all, you're greeted by the S&T Sergeant Major and the S&T Cap or Commander. That's who greets you at the top. And if you don't make it, you go over here. If you do make it, you go over here by the fire. And they're like, Sergeant Vickers, congratulations. You successfully completed the stress phase of, Delta Force selection and assessment.
Damn.
Dude,
what
I
did that
immediately
feel
started
like?
crying. I mean, I just gushed. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one that did that. Hardest thing I ever did in my life, bar none. Bar none. Out of 88 people that tried out, that started, 13 made it, and 11 got through OTC. So 11 guys made it through OTC, crossed the hall into one of the Sabre squadrons out of 88.
Damn. No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.